Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering the woke boycotts. We're also covering how Bud Light and Target were ruined using retirement funds from hardworking people by investment management companies like BlackRock, forcing companies to go woke. This trend of stakeholder capitalism is what's really been damaging so many American companies and so many American brands. Well, this is a great article from the Daily Mail, how your 401k savings are being used to turn our biggest brands woke, as revealed by ex-Anheuser-Busch executive who shows how you can fight back at the cash registers. This is the same guy, Anson Fredericks, who we talk about often when we're talking about Bud Light. He used to be the president of distribution for Anheuser-Busch and was at the company for 10 years, and it's one of the reasons why he left the company. So let's get into the article. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. I'm trying to get to 25,000 subscribers, so if you can subscribe, please do subscribe. So every day it seems that another iconic American brand starts to become woke. Last month, Bud Light sponsored Dylan Mulvaney's ridiculous ad that we know destroyed the value of Bud Light. We know that the stock for the company is down around $30 billion. And every week we hear about more falling sales of Bud Light. Last week it was 30%. We'll see in a couple of days what it is this week. Probably much worse. Target, of course, is also the subject of boycotts, and well-deserved. Pushing the agenda way too far, not listening to customers, not interested in what customers had to say, until they started getting severe boycotts. And now they're scaling back a little bit, but they never apologized, so there's no reason to forgive Bud Light or Target. These companies saw their stock prices plummet and billions of dollars of value erased almost overnight. Target's down almost $14 billion. They're not alone. Nike, Calvin Klein, North Face, and even the Los Angeles Dodgers have been criticized for wading into America's culture wars. So why are they doing this? Why are these companies that used to just be happy serving their customers getting mixed into political fights? And the answer is follow the money. As an executive at Anheuser-Busch for more than 10 years, he witnessed how the calculus of running a major corporation was hijacked. And that's one of the reasons why he left. No longer are the companies just interested in making money. Now companies have been captured, and the country's greatest companies have been repurposed into vehicles of social change, controlled by people who manage money that own very big stakes in each of these companies. Target and Bud Light are publicly traded companies, which means that ultimately their investors tell them what to do. That's where BlackRock, Street and Vanguard come in, the three largest and most influential financial institutions in U.S. history. They're known as the Big Three on Wall Street, though many Americans have never heard of them. And this is the crazy thing about what these companies are doing. It's not their money. It's money that they're managing for people's pension funds. They're using that money and saying, hey, well, we get to vote the way we want to vote. We're going to vote to push this social agenda. We're going to force you to change. And if you don't change the way we want you to change, we're going to pull the investments that we control in you. These companies control more than $20 trillion in assets, almost none of which is their own. Rather, they manage the money held in everyday Americans' retirement accounts, pension funds, mutual funds, and investment accounts. Together, the Big Three constitute the largest shareholders of nearly 90% of the largest companies listed on the U.S. stock exchange, the S&P 500. They are the largest shareholders, which doesn't mean that they own a controlling interest. It just means the largest block of shares owned of 90% of the largest companies. But that's still very big. The Big Three have tremendous influence. But the problem is they're not just managing to make a profit. They're managing to push what they call stakeholder capitalism, which is the belief that businesses should be run not only to increase value to shareholders, but to serve all stakeholders, including government agencies, activists, and non-governmental organizations. And of course, the activists that they talk to, the government agencies that they talk to, the NGOs that they're dealing with, the non-governmental organizations are all pushing the same agenda. Stakeholder capitalism is distinct from traditional shareholder capitalism, which contends that companies have one responsibility to generate profits for the individuals who own shares in the company. So they're managing your money. They're supposed to be making a profit, but they say, no, that's not really our number one priority. But did they announce this publicly? Did they say, hey, by the way, we're going to change our priorities for managing your money. So if you want to leave this investment and let us fool around with someone else's money, that's fine. They don't announce that publicly, because if people had the option, why would you leave your money with these people to do their stakeholder capitalism ESG woke games if you had any alternative? 99% of people probably wouldn't. Even the people that support the woke capitalism ideas, they're trying to make money. The stakeholder movement has been around since the 1970s and has even earlier philosophical roots, but it truly began to gain traction in American investment circles only about 5 years ago. 2019 was a turning point. That year, the Business Roundtable, which is a group of CEOs from America's largest companies, adopted a new statement of purpose on the purpose of a corporation, declaring that all companies share a fundamental commitment to all of our stakeholders to promote the larger social good. 188 American CEOs signed on to that deal. Among them were the CEOs of the big three investment companies, and other large financial institutions like JP Morgan and Bank of America, and many of the companies they own, including Target, Disney, and Coca-Cola. The big three began to issue guidelines on how they expected their portfolio companies they invested in, to honor this commitment by implementing so-called environmental, social, and governance, or ESG targets and scores. To encourage compliance, the big three uses their power as shareholders to influence who sits on corporate boards. So board members, a board of directors ultimately controls a company, but whoever controls the board of directors controls the company. In 2021, they voted to replace ExxonMobil board members with climate experts, who immediately sought to reduce the oil giant's exploration and drilling output to meet contested climate goals. They subsequently voted for racial equity audits at companies like Apple and Home Depot, compelling the companies to impose race-based hiring criteria and implement diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Beyond shareholder voting, the big three employ large engagement teams to pressure CEOs for progress on ESG goals and increased ESG scores. BlackRock has over 70 employees dedicated to stewardship efforts. In 2022 alone, they had 3,880 engagements with 2,580 companies. The big three also wield enormous influence when it comes to executives getting paid, and not just the CEO. According to one study, a shocking 73% of S&P 500 companies now tie executive compensation to ESG measures. So if you don't follow their ESG measurements and their ESG rules, you could lose your job, but you'll definitely get paid less than if you did follow their rules and do what they told you to do. And that's in 73% of these large public companies. If a CEO doesn't weigh in on the latest social issue quickly enough, his or her bonus could be in jeopardy. Many ordinary consumers have no idea that their money may be used as leverage by major financial institutions to influence popular American brands. But as the results are borne out in divisive product launches and marketing campaigns, the impact is becoming clear. Stakeholder capitalism is hurting businesses. Previous loyal customers have stopped buying these products, and they're opting for alternative brands that remain out of the political fray. This is bad news for shareholders who rely on these companies to meet their investment goals. It often puts CEOs at odds with their employees and customers, and it's bad for society. America has traditionally settled contested political issues through an accountable electoral process. The stakeholder capitalism movement subverts that system. Questions over environmental issues, parental rights, gender equality, and the like should be settled at the ballot box, not in the boardroom. And many Americans seem to agree. They're starting to spend their hard-earned dollars at companies that focus on customers, not stakeholders. And that's the change that we're starting to see. We are seeing some effective boycotts. Even CNBC admits the boycotts are affecting Target stock price. The boycotts are affecting Bud Light stock. They're nervous about the effects on other companies, and they see that there really is a major blowback. And keep in mind, people aren't really aware of stakeholder capitalism. People aren't generally understanding what is actually going on. Why are these companies doing this? Why are they going woke? Especially when it obviously doesn't make any business sense. Now we have the answer. But hopefully, as more people get to understand what's been going on, they can say, okay, wait a minute. If that's what you're trying to do, I don't want any part of it. No, I'm not buying your Bud Light. I'm not going to Target. I'm not going to go to this store or that store until they serve the customer and treat people the way they deserve to be treated. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Were you aware of stakeholder capitalism? Did you understand that that is what's driving Bud Light's actions? That is what's driving Target, and so many of these woke companies, it's not just the woke employees, it's these measurements that were forced on these companies by these large investment groups like BlackRock, like Vanguard, like State Street, who use other people's money to push their own social agendas. Let me know if you knew about that. I always love to see your comments. I really appreciate your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.